Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrew. Today, I'm going to be doing my most disappointing reads of this year. So as of the filming of this video, I have read 102 books, and I am releasing this video first because I do not want any further disappointment. So we are leaving all the disappointing reads in this video. Everything else will be a hit going forward. These are not all books that came out in 2021. They are just the books that I read in 2021. And second of all, if any of these books were some of your personal favorites, then I love that for you. I'm so happy for you. And there are plenty of books that I love that other people don't love, and that's all totally fine. Okay, and I have personally ranked these from what I found to be like not as disappointing to what is the absolute most disappointing read of this year, because some of them I just didn't have expectations for. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't think I would like them, but I had enough hope that I would like them, so they are still on this list. So and these are just 10 disappointing books. So the 10th least disappointing book is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. I just did not connect with this story. I do want to watch the movie, but basically, if you don't know, it's about these two gangs, and there's a guy named Ponyboy. I read this at the beginning of the year, so it's kind of left my memory. And I have several friends who love this book. So, and I would give this book a second chance maybe in the future. But it's basically just about these two rival gangs and how they don't like each other and how they kind of work around that. And I just didn't find it all that engaging. I didn't really connect with the characters. I really don't know how to thoughtfully explain it. So we're just gonna go to the next one. The number 9 most disappointing book was Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody, which I specifically read this and a couple other ones on this list because of Emma Book's all-time favorite series. And there were several hits from her list for me, but this was unfortunately not one of them. This is a book that follows In, and her mother is missing, and then she has to go into this city of sin to try to find her. And again, this is one that just didn't really connect with me, and I didn't have any sort of, I just didn't really care, to be honest. Like, it was just so flat in a way. But I know several people who like this book also. But I just didn't have any connection to these characters at all, and I didn't find anything about the world to feel fresh or new or engaging or anything exciting. So this is number 9 on my list. Then we have number 8, which I actually have more of a memory of than Ace of Shades, but that is Serpent and Dove. So this was about a 2.5 for me. I did not really think, again, anything new or exciting or out of the box was really going on here. So I just didn't think anything was interesting. I love Cindy's video on this whole book. I think it's hilarious. I think she's a bit more critical than I am, but I agree with some things that she said. And I just didn't really think it was that well written. I didn't think it was that, honestly, just as an entertainment thing. Like, I did read it really quickly because I think it is very heavily plot driven. Like, you're just always moving in the story. So I feel like I think I read it in like 2 or 3 days, and I would still, like, I listened to it on audio, and I think the narrators did a good job. So I remember the story in a way, but I just have no interest in continuing the trilogy. I do not want to read the next book. I did not find it I just didn't find any. There was just nothing super exciting about it to me. And, you know, if you don't know what that one's about, it's about a witch and a witch hunter, and by some absolutely ridiculous circumstances that I didn't find they were that ridiculous. I'm definitely I'm a reader who is willing to suspend disbelief, and that's not even my critique of the book. I didn't find it, of course there's unbelievable things happening, but I didn't care about that. I just thought that it was, you know, and I did think that the main 2 characters did have decent chemistry. So I mean, it was definitely not as bad as, I enjoyed it more than it's number 8, but I still did not enjoy it anywhere near the level of other things I read this year. Okay, and then number 7 on my list, these are books that I have either never purchased or unhauled. So number 7 is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, which this book, Carry On, was not anything enjoyable to me. I don't get it. I don't understand why it's so. I feel like everyone who loves it is like a fangirl, which I did read Fangirl, and I did really like Fangirl, and I found Kath to be pretty relatable in a sense, but I did not think that Simon and Baz were interesting characters. I didn't think that the stakes they were put in, I didn't think that the school was, I just didn't think it was an original concept. Like, I just did not enjoy the book at all. But I didn't have certain expectations on that one, so I don't know. I had to put it somewhere on the list. It's definitely not something, like, I think because I had read Fangirl and I had enjoyed Fangirl, I thought, okay, well, I'll probably enjoy Carry On because, like, there's just certain parts of Fangirl that I enjoyed. And I think, again, I've heard the critique that Carry On feels like it is a fantasy written by a contemporary writer. I just didn't feel like it didn't translate well. I didn't think that it was good fantasy. I would maybe read Rainbow Rowell's contemporaries, possibly. Update, there is not 10 on this list. There's like 13 or 14. So clearly, I don't know how to count. But we're just going to move on. They are in order of least disappointing to most disappointing still. So that is still correct. So after Carry On, we have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. So many people love this book, and I love that they love it, and I love that for them. The more time I have spent distanced from the ending of this book and outside of this book, the more I just feel like it was said by Books Emily Fox. She said, it just feels like when you read this book, it's like that meme with the raccoon, and there's just no substance. It's just beautiful gowns, stunning gowns, but absolutely nothing of value. There's nothing in this story that makes me think about, like, I just don't find this like an intellectually stimulating book. There's one scene that I remember that I really liked. There are a couple scenes that I really liked, but when you look at the book as a whole, and I come back, I gave this like 3 stars, and I feel like maybe I'm being too harsh on it. Maybe I didn't know what to expect, but I just didn't. It's just like vibes. Like, there's not a good story in here. Like, I don't know. This one was a difficult one, and I part of me wants to keep this and reread it, but part of me wants to unhaul it and never think about it again. So I don't know. And I know that a lot of people love this book, so I'm so sorry if you're one of those people, but this was not my personal jam. I really enjoyed it, like, when I was in the book, though, so that makes me think, I don't know. But when I'm outside of the book and I think about what actually occurs in the book, it's just so surface level, it feels like to me. So that's why I had to put this on my disappointing list. Okay, the next one is The Cruel Prince, which I have unhauled from my possession because I hated it. But it was so incredibly hyped, and it's all over TikTok. It's all over, honestly, everywhere. Like, I just feel like so many people love that series. People that I didn't know where I landed as far as tastes are concerned. I've since learned that it's just not, I didn't even finish the first book. I didn't even finish it because I just did not like it. I didn't think that it was doing anything innovative. I didn't think it was doing anything special. I just didn't care about any of the characters. I cared about, like, the mentor guy, who I don't even remember his name. I remember Jude, and it just all blurred together. All I remember about that book is that it's just her eating, like, all this fairy fruit, and her just getting abused over and over and over and over again by 6 different brothers. Like, again, like, it had, like, no substance to me. Like, I didn't understand what message we're trying to convey here through these pages. Like, I didn't see the why, I didn't see the point. I didn't care for that book at all, unfortunately. So, but the hype is why it is, like, more disappointing than other books, because it was so hyped by so many people, and I'm sure that, like, those people just wanted a good time. But even just as an entertainment level, I didn't really find it to be anything interesting. I did find it interesting once she like met that girl who like didn't want Fairy to be real, which was like kind of at the point where I was at. So I was like, I was getting interested in it, but it was like over 70%. And I was like, I am over 70% in this book. And just now finding what's happening interesting, like this is not the book for me. So again, if you love it, I love that you love it. Continue to love it. Don't let me affect your opinion. I didn't love it. Okay, next we have another fairly hyped book, but the ratings are pretty low on Goodreads. So it's kind of a mixed bag, seems like. But it is The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi, who this is my first book I've read by her, but I do want to read some of her other stuff still because I did like her writing, but the way that this story is delivered, again, I guess that's a big thing for me. Just like the narrative structure of a book is important to me, and like I have to enjoy the way you are delivering the story to me. And this just didn't feel, I didn't really like the way it was delivered. I did like the characters. I liked the characters and I liked the writing, but I just didn't really feel like I was getting a good grasp of like where we were, what we were doing, like why we were there. And I just found it empty. Like a lot of these books that are disappointing, I just find them empty. I didn't finish it. So again, it could have been crazy in the last, like I got about 67% of the way through. Again, like to me, I feel like I've given it 2/3 of my time. I've given the book 2/3. Like that's 67% of the book. Like if you have not intrigued me at the 67% mark, like you're not writing a good book. Like that may be harsh, but like I need to be engaged at least before the 50% mark. I feel like that if you're not engaged before the 50% mark, like it's just not good storytelling, I don't think. But that's just my opinion. I'm just one person. That's it for that. But like I said, I did enjoy the characters and I did enjoy the writing. So I do want to read some other stuff by her. And I think I'm next year going to be moving away from young adult because that's just where I see myself going as a reader. I think I will always read young adult. I think I will always pick it up, but I think I'm going to lean more into some adult books next year because I think they're going to deliver me a little bit more of what I want. And I'm almost 30 years old. Anyways, yeah, I do want to read her other stuff though. I want to read her middle grade series, which is ironic, I know, because I just said I don't want to read young adult, but I do want to read other stuff. I have enjoyed middle grade, so I have the whole Nevermore series up there, so which you won't see in this video, okay? You're not going to see Nevermore in this video. Honestly, you're not going to see anything behind me because it's still on the shelf, so. Okay, the next book that was a disappointment is The Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. So I did finish, and obviously I read A Darker Shade of Magic, which I actually really liked A Darker Shade of Magic. I gave it 4 stars. I thought that it was really good. I really liked all the characters. I liked the plot. I liked the writing, all of it. I enjoyed the whole thing. So that's why this is so disappointing, because I really, really enjoyed book 1. I have a review, spoiler-free, spoiler-filled. I have both of those. I'll link it wherever it goes. And you can check that out because I really enjoyed this first book. And I got into this book and I just found it to be like nothing happening until like the 80% mark. And then interesting things did happen and I was very intrigued to continue on like the plot point with Rye. I love Rye. Rye is the best part of this whole series. And I enjoy Kel. And I'm completely neutral on Lila Bard. Completely neutral. I feel like I've seen lots of hate for her that I don't get it. But I mean, she's not my fave, so don't get me wrong. But anyways, this was a little too focused on Lila, which is like, it's not that I don't dislike her. I just feel like we could have easily focused on other characters that I'm more interested in. And that is not what happened in this book. And I mean, I still have not finished the 3rd book and I want to finish it because I know she wants to continue the series and I want to read it, but oh man, it has been a struggle for me to get into the 3rd book. And like this ends on, if you know, this ends on a huge cliffhanger. And like, I hate that. I hate when the 2nd book in a series ends on a huge cliffhanger, which you're gonna see this. And then the 3rd book does not immediately like leave off from where that cliffhanger went. I think that's dumb. I think that you gave us the cliffhanger ending and then you're just like forcing us to read all this other stuff. Like for what? Like you built up this whole 2nd book with a cliffhanger, and then in the 3rd book, like why are you not? Which again, I could be wrong. I could be remembering things wrong with the 3rd book, but here we're talking about the 2nd book. The 2nd book has nothing happen until the 80% mark, in my opinion, and I don't like it. I'm disappointed. I'm considering hauling the entire series because I just cannot bring myself to finish the third book. Like, I've tried so many times and I'm never ever engaged with it. And I wonder if it's sometimes, like, I'm partially wondering if it's the narrators, which is shocking to me because I know the narrators are Michael Kramer and Kate Reading, and everyone loves them. Everyone thinks they're the best. They think they're the bee's knees. And I don't know what it is for me. I don't know if it's them or the story. And maybe I'll go back and physically read it and just see what happens, which that's a whole concept for a video that I have, BT dubs. Like, I really want to reread certain books. Actually, quite a few of them on this list. I want to reread them in a different format and see if it changes my opinion, just for my own experimental purposes. Personally, I don't. Other people can prefer audio or physical all day long, and that's fine. I just want to know for myself, like, will I retain more one way or the other? But from what I remember about this book, I was disappointed as fuck. So, okay. Then we have The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan, who I read all of the Percy Jackson series this year, and I was like ready. I was ready to binge all of his stuff. Like, I was like, I loved Percy Jackson. I'm gonna read everything. I'm gonna just be obsessed. I'm gonna be all up in the Riordan verse, and I can't wait. And then I read The Lost Hero, and I thought it was so not interesting until the very end. Like, again, I hate that in a book. I do not want a book that doesn't do anything interesting until the last 20 or 30%. Like, get the plot moving earlier. Like, what the fuck? Like, I just hate it. But I am going to continue this series because I want to read all of his other series, and I want to do a whole thing. Like, I want to do a whole tier ranking for all of his series. And I'm just telling you right now, The Heroes of Olympus is not going to be my favorite. I can already tell you right now. Like, I don't think I could choke on my words later, but let me just tell you. So yeah, this is the first book in The Heroes of Olympus, which follows Percy Jackson, and you're following completely different characters for 90% of this book. And something happens in that last 10%, which pulled me back in and had me interested. So I don't really know what to say. Oh, and this is interesting because it's like Roman gods and Greek gods getting together in a way, and it is really interesting, and I will give him that. But just, I was like, is it a middle grade thing? But like, no, I really, really liked Percy Jackson. Like, I really enjoyed all 5 of those books. They were all 4 or 5 stars. So like, I know I enjoyed them, and I want to enjoy the Heroes of Olympus. Okay, next on the list is gonna hurt a lot of people because this is really popular, but I've seen many, many people in the adult fantasy community criticize this book. So again, whatever. Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. It just didn't live up to the hype because the hype is insane for this book. Like, the hype is bonkers. And I just don't think that it wouldn't have mattered what was inside of this book. Like, it would not have mattered whatsoever what happened in this book. Like, nothing that this book could have done could have lived up to the hype that is this book, which is so unfortunate and so sad. And I've already discussed it. It could have been my most disappointing book because of the hype, but I have other books by other authors that I have really enjoyed their work by. So this is not the highest, most disappointing book because I hated the Ruin and Rising book. I really like Shadow and Bone was a 5-star book for me. That is so ironic. I love Shadow and Bone. Siege and Storm was weird and slow and whatever, but Nikolai was the best part. And then we have book 3 be awful, absolutely awful. And I was like, it's okay because I know she'll have Six of Crows, and I'll read Six of Crows, and no, it's not. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know it's really, really beloved. Again, this is one that's going to be on my list for me attempting to reread it in a different format because I did listen to the audiobook for this, which is a full cast audiobook with so many different, and I really thought in the first like 15 to 20% of this book, I was like, okay, like I'm here, I'm hooked, I'm into it, like I'm so engaged, like this is going to be better. Everyone else says it's better than the Shadow and Bone trilogy, so like it's going to be good. No. It did not end as a 5-star book for me or a 4-star book for me or a 3-star book for me. It was 2. I'm giving it a 2. And I think because, so we have this book and then we previously discussed The Gilded Wolves, And I think maybe I just don't like heist books. I just don't think I like heist books, which is nothing against, like, there's nothing an author could do then to make me like a heist book. Why do I not like heist books? I don't know. I just, for some reason, I feel like I do like, I mean, Ocean's 8, whatever, Ocean's 11, like, they're not my favorite movies. Like, I don't love them, but they're not like, I'm not like disappointed by them. I actually really liked Ocean's 8, the one with Rihanna, and that was a good movie. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe I just don't like it in book format, but I feel like all of these heist books get so much hype. Like The Final Empire, The Lies of Locke Lamora, like Six of Crows, like anything with a heist is just like something about it makes people go crazy. And like, I don't think I like it in a book format. So that's not necessarily a Leigh Bardugo issue. However, I have read 4 of her books, and pretty much 3 out of 4, 75% of them were 3 stars or less. So I don't think I'm going to be reading anything else by her anytime soon. Anyways, moving on. So we have the next book that we're going to discuss is Rebel Angels by Libba Bray, who wrote The Diviners, which is going to show up in a much more positive video later on. So I was really hyped. I actually really liked the first book. I gave the first book like 4 stars. It has its issues. Like, it's definitely got some word choices that probably wouldn't fly by today's standards, like as far as race issues and just like stuff that Libba Bray puts a lot of what some people might like consider triggering like in her books. And there's just a lot of stuff that, you know, she always has like animal abuse, kind of like animals, so like it's always going on because she's like doing stuff with like fortune tellers. But I think that was also in, you know, that was in The Diviners. So I was really hyped because I really liked A Great and Terrible Beauty. Like, it was like a 4-star book, and I was like, I'm gonna enjoy this series. And then I got about 67% into Rebel Angels, which is the second book in the Gemma Doyle trilogy. And there are so many things out of all the books on this list that I haven't finished. This is the most likely book that I would go back and finish, because there's a video from Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, which I will link below, which discusses, she has 2 videos. One that came out like 3 or 4 years ago about female-female friendships, how they're so rare in media. And people were talking about the Gemma Doyle trilogy and like the female-female friendships. But there is a lot of issues with those friendships, and they're very complicated relationships. But it's still like the female-female friendship thing is still so rare in books, except for it's in The Diviners and it's in all of Cassandra Clare's books. So I really want to enjoy it. Okay, I want to read it. And then, so I didn't finish it, and then I went back, reread all 4 books of The Diviners. I've read it twice this year. So, and then in the 4th book, something is mentioned that makes it very clear that these 2 series are somewhat connected. And I wanted to go back, and I still want to go back and finish the 2nd book, but I was bored. I was bored, and I have to like, again, I can't lie. Like, I'm sorry. I was bored in her 2nd book, even though I liked the 1st book. Oh, but man, I really wanted, actually something happens in the 2nd book of The Diviners, which makes it clear that they're connected. But then in the 4th book, it's even more expanded upon in a way. So if you didn't know, The Diviners is connected kind of loosely to the Gemma Doyle trilogy. But yes, so that's why it's here. I was so disappointed because I am obsessed with The Diviners, and I will be obsessed with The Diviners until forever. And it's one of the reasons I will continue to pick up young adult books, because of The Diviners and The Diviners alone. Like, because I feel like it's better written than some adult books I've read. What's the Gemma Doyle, what's that book even about? So it's about this girl who goes to, like, she lives in India, and then she gets sent off to a boarding school in somewhere in Europe. And she discovers that she can like enter these realms, and it sounds so good and interesting. And it really, the 1st book was pretty decent. It was like a thriller, horror, like I was really into it. And then the 2nd book, like I said, it just really didn't go where I wanted to go. I just wasn't interested in what was happening. So, but like I said, most likely out of all these books I didn't finish, I probably would go back and finish this one, just because I want to read all of Libba Bray's work. Moving on. Okay, next we have The Toll by Neal Shusterman, which was so disappointing because Thunderhead, the 2nd book in this series, is again going to be in a different video, so I'm sure you can guess. But this did that stupid thing that also happened in the Shades of Magic series, where the second book ends on a huge cliffhanger and huge clip. It was such a good cliffhanger though. I was like, oh my goodness. But then it does that bullshit where the first, like, honestly, in this situation, the first 75% of the book here just completely introduces you to like stuff that doesn't make sense in the moment, but it does make sense by the end of the book. But oh my god, you're not continuing right from where the cliffhanger ended. And I gave this 3 stars. So if you don't know, this is from the Scythe series, which is all about like this world where people don't die, but then they have to assign like Scythe people who like, they have like a whole council and they decide like how to kill people, and then you can become a Scythe and you get trained or whatever, becoming a, like, the first 2 books were really good. Like they were both like really high 4 stars. Like Thunderhead was like 4.5. Like it was such a good book. And then we got this bullshit. And I just don't understand. Like I do understand. By the end of the book, it all makes sense, like what he was trying to do. So like, again, this is one I kind of want to reread, and maybe I would upgrade my rating. As of right now, would easily consider this this is literally the number 2 most disappointing book on the list, because I loved Thunderhead and I loved Scythe. So I mean, so disappointing. Like there was so much potential here, and this book, like for how long it is and how uninterested I was in what was going on for so much of this book, I'm sorry, but I did really enjoy this first 2 books, so I do want to read more by Neal Shusterman for sure. But oh man, this was not the vibe. Would it be the vibe on reread? I don't know. We'll see, but probably not. Now we have my number 1 most disappointing read of 2021, and it is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. That's right, this will not be in my favorite books of 2021 video that I read. This is in my most disappointing books of 2021. So if you don't know, Cassandra Clare is the reason that I started a booktube channel, and the reason that I read as much as I currently have read, and I've read 102 books. So obviously this book is so character driven and there is so little plot, and I think what maybe the people who enjoy her period piece works, what they enjoy, they got it. You know, I love this cover, honey. Look at it. It's so pretty. It's stunning. Like stunning. Like this is the vibe. Like I love this. I have it displayed on my shelf. Okay. But the book itself and the story itself, like the plot is just, and like I know Cassandra Clare can do a plot. Like I know your girl is capable of a plot. Like she's always had like the convoluted like love triangle bullshit, YA, like whatever. It's always been there. But it has also always had, like, I have never DNF'd one of her. I didn't DNF this book either. Like I still enjoyed this book. So don't get me wrong, like I still enjoyed this book, and I still am gonna read all the Shadowhunter books that come out, because like when you have things like City of Glass, City of Heavenly Fire, Clockwork Princess, like Lady Midnight, like those books are phenomenal. So, but they just couldn't all be a hit. Okay, and this is like, where was the plot, honey? Where was the plot? Where was the plot? Where was the plot? Like it doesn't show up until like this part of the book. So all of this is just, oh, we're not talking, oh, we're not speaking, oh, that was the whole book. Like, and that is not what I personally fell in love with the Shadowhunter world. Okay, like don't get me wrong, like the love stories are epic and I do enjoy them, but this was just, and I know several fans disagree with me and say like this is their favorite Shadowhunter book that's ever existed. So like, love that for you, was not my favorite. And oh, but I do love so many of these characters. I love so many of these characters, and I might be being too harsh on this, and maybe I'd reread it and it'd be like, I don't think it'd be a 5, but it could be a 4. So, you know, I don't know. And then I'm sure by the time we get to the final book in the series, I might have a different opinion. But I do really like James Herondale. I always love Cassandra Clare's characters. Like, they are why she's really good at characters and character work and character relationships. But she's also really good at plot. Like, y'all know she's good at plot. Okay, City of Glass has like such a good plot. Like, not just the characters, but the plot. I'm sorry, I'm ranting. But yes, this was my most disappointing read because it definitely had the biggest expectations put on it, because I binged all of Cassandra Clare last year, like all of her books. I read all of The Mortal Instruments, Infernal Devices, Dark Artifices, and all the side novellas, like all of it. So I was ready. When this dropped, I was so excited. I remember seeing the cover reveal on, or was that for Chain of Iron? I don't know. But I remember like watching the cover reveal, being so excited, all that stuff. So this was disappointing. I am kind of alone in that, and that's fine. So there you go. That completes the list of my most disappointing books that I read this year. I would love to hear either your most disappointing, your most surprising, or your favorites. Like, let me know. I will be doing a surprising and a favorites list. I will not be doing a worst books because I do not honestly feel like I read any books that were like awful this year. I try to pick up books I think I will enjoy. And I mean, you would probably be misled by that statement based off of how many books are on this list, but I do have a top 10 favorites, and I have about the same amount of surprising books on this list. So, you know, like, and I've read 102, so like there's bound to be some that just like don't hit the mark. So I will leave my Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter all in the description box below. I'd love it if you would follow me on there, talking about books, all that good stuff. Have a great day. Bye.